Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Man's World podcast, where we talk about all things related to man issues, topics as far as self improvement, dealing with family issues, health issues, finance issues, and everything that a man needs to know to be successful in this life and the next. So, we're going to jump right into it. And we constantly encourage you guys when you're watching our videos, whether you're watching them live or you're watching them at some other time. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, leave them in the comments, and we're going to try to address them on our shows as best as we can. And we'll try to tag you later when we repost the clips so that you can have an answer. So let's get right into it. So we got a couple first before we get into the topics of the show. We want to address the comments first. We have a couple of comments that we want to address, and this was related to a video we put out when we were talking about. There was a news article about Kentucky. It has in 2018 they implemented a new law um, where hold on, a new law where pretty much 50-50 custody was like the standard, right? And after they implemented that law in 2018, they've seen now that their divorce rates have plummeted. They've went down significantly. And a lot of people, of course, are crediting the drop in divorce rates to that law of just automatically right off the bat giving 50-50 custody to each parent, which pretty much means that neither parent benefits from the divorce. And when neither parent is benefiting from the divorce, you see that the divorce rates obviously are going to go down because not one party is enticed or has an incentive to seek divorce. And so the first comment we have here is from at Sleep Little Sheep 22. And here she says, the issue with law mandated visitation is they don't account for extenuating circumstances, what the mother or father has seen or feels behind closed doors. There could be infidelity, violence, family neglect, emotional abuse. Money as well should never be the deciding factor of does my family suffer or not. Allowing a woman or man to see their child after displaying damaging behavior is torture to the other parent, as well making connections with a parent who has strayed from the family unit will only cause unnecessary damage to a child that will be essentially abandoned once a new family unit is established, seen time and time again. So, what are your thoughts and what's your response to this comment made by Sleep Little Sheep 22?
The first thing that jumps out is that if there is like abuse and these things, that's not something to brush to the side. But I don't see what this has to do with the the child or the children. Now, if the abuse is against the children, then the the proceedings, the divorce or whatever the court situation should, that should be apparent or should be clarified. And then if there is a danger, then that would be built uh to the situation. But if it's just a matter of 50-50 custody, if you do divorce, even if there is some issue between the husband and wife, even if it is abuse, as long as it's not against the children, then it really shouldn't have anything to do with that split.
Yes.
So that's the way I see it.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot of projecting going on.
Mhm.
Remember that, so we're talking about the clip is about 50-50 custody and normal circumstances when there isn't any abuse or any extenuating circumstances, like they mentioned. So this Sleep Little Sheep is saying that the issue of law mandated visitation is they don't count for extending circumstances. Well, yes, they do. Every single one I've known of, they do account for extenuating circumstances. Now, you might not like the bar that they set because it's a pretty low bar, and pretty much, and I kind of agree with the premise behind the low bar, because a lot of people, you'll think a lot of things will be issues that should probably prevent a parent from seeing their child, but the idea is that taking a parent out of a child's life is more detrimental to that child than whatever negative situation that parent might be in. So like if anybody's ever dealt with any like what do they call CPS cases? the bar is really low, right? They pretty much have to really see some physical abuse, or like drug paraphernalia out on a counter. Like the bar is really, really low. Um, but here also, the things that kind of bother me with this comment is that when the person says, um, brings in infidelity, right? Um, a person cheating, whether it's the husband or the wife, yes, it's not a good behavior. However, that doesn't really relate to their parenting ability, right? Just because a spouse cheats and it causes a divorce or separation or whatever, that should not impact whether that person gets to see their child or not.
Yeah.
Um,
And the point where she says allowing a woman or man to see their child after displaying damaging behavior is torture to the other parent. So
there you go.
now this is what happens a lot is women will attach their feelings, their disposition, and their decision as far as whether to continue the relationship or even how much of contact or interaction with the spouse or ex-spouse. They will attach that also with the kids.
Yeah.
We are not going to see you. You can't see
Yes.
us. Or they'll be like, you know you are not good to us. And they'll throw us in there as in me and the children.
Yes.
And this is something that men have to understand, that if you have a breakdown in your relationship, then if you have the children, it's in a woman's nature to do that, to have that sort of go to. I don't even want to say that it's something that's malicious. It's just kind of how they're wired. You know,
Yeah.
they feel like they are an extension of their children, and their children are attached to them. And so
Hmm.
you weren't good to us. Well, well, you didn't want to be with me anymore, therefore you didn't want us anymore. Your father left us, this type of thing. And
Yep.
when it's, he's actually still wanting to be the relationship with his children, but
Hmm.
because he may not want her, that means not the children either, and they usually are a big barrier to that. So just have to be careful if he's displaying damaging behavior to the relationship. If we could make some edits to this comment here, allowing a woman or man to see their child after displaying damaged behavior, put it in there to the relationship. Because unless it's to the children, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But you can't just extend it and say, because I didn't get what I wanted out of this relationship, or this relationship was damaging to me, it was not fulfilling to me, my
Yep.
needs were not met in this relationship. You can't then drag that in and say, well, because of that, because he's not a good husband, he can't be a good father. Or
Yeah.
you know I'm not going to benefit from this person anymore, so he can't be good for the children.
Yeah.
This has to be, you have to try to separate your emotions and feelings and thoughts from with the decisions that you make for the children. It's hard to do. Men are able to do that a little easier, but for women it's hard to do, but it must be done.
Yeah, and I mean that second paragraph kind of lays out the context behind what, in my mind, comes in the first paragraph. I mean, when I see, yes, but there's violence is an issue, family neglect. I mean, I don't know what that means, but again, the second paragraph kind of gives the context and what's actually behind it. Emotional abuse, like miss me with all the emotional abuse stuff because I don't want to hear it. But like you said, what and this plays right into parental alienation and the person leaving this comment, um man or woman. The issue is that what you're doing, like Mubarak said, is you are commingling your feelings with the other parent, with the relationship with the kids. And pretty much what you're saying is, if you treat me well and make me happy, then I will allow you to have a relationship with the children. That's pretty much what you're saying. Then I'll think it's okay for you to have a relationship with the children. Because, like, obviously this person has been cheated on, right? And this person is now maybe starting a new life with the person that they cheated on, or maybe somebody else. And you're kind of projecting your alienation tactic right in this second paragraph, and you may not know it, right? You pretty much say that, this person, the other parent, is with somebody else, and that's bad for the kid, which is not bad for the kid. It's good for a kid to see what a two-parent household looks like, whether it's you doing that or the other parent doing that, or both of y'all doing that, right? So that's actually not bad for the kid. And then you also, and I'm pretty sure you're going to project this onto your child and say things like this to your child, is that person's going to establish a new family and abandon them once they do that. And this is you see this all the time. And then what will happen is, if the other parent, I mean, if this is a small world and other parents listen to us respond to this parent's comment, be prepared that your child eventually, when they start, if hopefully they don't start trying to cut you off, they're going to be parroting the same talking points that the other parent is saying. And they will accuse you of abandoning them for your new family, your new kids, your new wife. I went through this exact scenario. And I mean, we're talking about 8 years later. And listen to this comment. I mean, I just literally got this text like 2 or 3 days ago. And the text said, in short, I'll skip the middle part. In short, if you respect me and treat me better, things will go a lot smoother for you with the kids. And that's just an obvious statement of like, it actually has nothing to do with the kids. It actually has to do with you. When you're in co-parenting situations, you have to constantly take your relationship or your feelings about the other parent out of the equation and really think about what's best for the kids.
Yeah. Now, I will say that, I mean, this is a man's world, so based on your comment, we do have to give the men some instructions, because, of course, the women should not do that. They should not, based on how they are going to, how hard or easy they're going to make it for you to deal with, interact, and see your children, should not be based on how well the parents, the exes are getting along. But
Mhm.
for the men, you do have to understand that even though that's not the right way, you do have to realize that that is going to be a factor. So
Yes.
you have to weigh, whether or not you're going to really tell her about herself, her behavior, and how good or bad of a person that she is, when you know that that is going to have an effect, right or wrong, on how she will then deal with you
If I
in
could
regards to your
rewind
children.
time.
Yeah. So just for the men, I mean, yeah, just because it's right, it doesn't always mean that
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
Yep. The next comment on the same video, it says, "This does not work when there's abuse," which we kind of clarified that already. Yes, when there's abuse, and again, this is the law is not saying no matter what they get 50-50 custody. The law is saying that in normal situations, when there's not abuse, when there's not neglect, when there's not some extreme situation, we're starting at 50-50 custody. Where in the past, it didn't, and now I'm not saying in the past, currently now in most states, it doesn't start at 50-50 custody. It starts at the woman gets full custody and the dad gets sparingly visitation, right? But Kentucky's saying, no, we're starting at 50-50 custody, 50-50 visitation, right? So, yes, it's not going to work when there's abuse. The court's going to adjust accordingly. But
Hold
Miss
on,
Code
but you
20,
gotta
yep,
you gotta finish the comment, because
yeah,
what is the abuse? It says does not work when there's abuse. What was the abuse? Also, my ex left me for another woman after 18 years married. So why would the children and I suffer because of his lust? So is that the abuse? Was the abuse that And listen, I don't want to make light of it. A man should not be cheating on his
hmm,
spouse. He should not. But that, and a lot of women would see that as, it's emotional abuse, it's an abuse of, psychological. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to downplay that. If a man is sneaking and cheating on his wife, especially after they've been together 2 decades or whatever, and she's thinking that, she's meeting those desires, or maybe she wants to, but he's not there. We can understand the scenario, how what could have been going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
And I'll even give you the point where that can be taken as abuse, psychological, and whatever, because yeah, it would definitely produce some harm on her end. However, that still should not dictate whether the kids can see or interact or maintain that relationship with him. Even though he's a cheater, he's still the father. If he's their father, then there's a role there that needs to be met. Sometimes men will, do things that they shouldn't do, but they still will hold their children accountable, and they still will be at least a good um, uh, father for their children. So you
Yes.
have to look at that in and of itself. You have to separate, once, especially once you are divorced. You just have to look at, when he interacts with the children, are they harmed in some way? Well, you say, well, the harm because of how he treated me, it affects the children. You've heard it because of how you treat me, the children feel that. Now, there may be some truth to that. There may be some truth to that. And so that's something that, maybe you can have a discussion about. You try to limit your interactions with him on both sides. That
Right.
way, there's no treating you anymore. That side is over,
Yep.
and then you just go from there. But don't equate his uh, infidelity, or whether it's psychological abuse, or maybe even something more than that, if it's towards you. If it's not affecting the kids, or if it's not towards the kids, then you have to try to separate that and move on. It's not easy, but it's
Mhm.
something that you have to try to do, and you have to try to work towards that.
Yeah, and both parents should also, every parent that's in a co-parent situation, right? And when Barb mentioned something very key about like how you treat the other parent could affect the kids, and that is true, right? But you both have to ask yourselves, how are the kids being exposed to how we're treating each other, right? So, and like what Mark mentioned about limiting your interactions or whatever, but you have to ask yourself, are the kids finding out about how we treat each other through me, right? Like, for instance, say you only communicate through telephone and text message or whatever, right? Barely, rarely any in-person interactions around the kids. And on the phone or on the text messages, you guys are always arguing, insulting each other back and forth, right? Well, guess what? None of the kids are involved in that. But usually what happens is one of the parents goes back, hey, did you hear what your mother said? Hey, guess what your father just said about me? Well, you are actually the one that's actually causing the abuse or causing the emotional distress on them, because you're letting them know about y'all relationship and how y'all communicate with each other. Yes, there's going to be times when co-parents argue, fight, and they're going to say some things they wish they didn't or didn't mean or probably shouldn't have said or call somebody out their name. Yes, that happens all the time, right? But it's another violation when you then go and share that information with your children and pretty much, look how your father's treating me, look how your mother's treating me, look at, because now you're involving the kids in the process and you have to stay out of it. The kids should just see that you guys are just two cordial adults managing their lives, and that's it, right? When you're talking to the kids, like even like we could do a whole episode on co-parenting and parenting and single mother or single father situations, but there's a lot to it, and pretty much you don't want to be disparaging the other parent in front of the other kids. You don't want them involved in your business. You don't want them involved in your arguments. Very simply, just leave that alone. And again, this is just another comment where the person is taking their feelings and projecting them on the kids and using that as a way to pretty much interfere with the children's relationship with that other parent. So, and I would love to talk to the person and be like, well, because it doesn't say that he cheated, just said he left for another woman. So maybe he didn't cheat. Maybe just like, hey, you're not cutting it. It's time to go,
Yeah.
or maybe, I don't know, depending on our audience, maybe he was trying to seek a second wife and she was like, I'm out of here. Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one more comment, and we're going to get right into the crux of our stuff. Is that this was about? Let's see. Let's watch the video real quick. Forgot what this was about. Oh,
Wait, what's your
polygamy?
This is the thing where it comes into where a man gets into polygamy. And then that wife, most of the time, they want to be seen as the number one. And they want to get rid of the new person. And sometimes the new person who comes in wants to get rid of the old.
So it was a video Visual Bark mentioned about how polygamy is difficult and may not be the best thing for men to get into, depending on how the women interact. And the comment is from Polygamy Nerd. Interesting. It says, "What about cases where women actually have a strong bond with each other that happens more than media shows?" I'll just say real quick before you respond. I'm not aware of much media exposure on polygamy. I don't see it nowhere in the news or any,
it depends on where this person is from, because some of the people who watch the channel, some people are from South Africa, some people are from
Gotcha.
places in Africa, and it's actually like it's very common, and now the mistress or the side chick or the girlfriend is common here in the West, but in other places, a person getting in polygamy either openly or somewhat covertly is very, very, very common in those areas. So yeah, sometimes women do have a strong bond. I've seen where women have had a strong bond, and they have not only pursued their friend to be their co-wife or something like that. It has happened, and it also has ruined the friendship too. So you just have to I don't want to come off as anti polygamy. I'm not. I just think that it is in lots of climates, especially in the West, it is not easy to navigate. And so those women can be strong friends, have a strong bond, and think that it would be great for them to be, uh, in a family unit working together because they already like each other and they already care about each other, and they don't have some sort of jealousy or rivalry already. It sounds beautiful and it should work, and I'm sure there's a lot of places where that does work. And I've seen with my own eyes that people can be in a polygamous situation, even if they didn't have a strong bond before. They can really love and care about each other as co-wives, and have a healthy relationship. But I would say that really think carefully about it and really go through all the scenarios and get some good advice. Matter of fact, you can email us at a man's word if you're thinking about it, and we can kind of give you the pros and cons and try to kind of walk you through it. But it being in polygamy is a different animal. It really is something that will test you. For the men, it will test you at every level: physically, financially, emotionally, socially. And for a woman, it will do the same. It will do the same. So you have to really, if the culture is not open to it and everywhere around you is a support for that type of lifestyle, then you have to be prepared to combat some of the things that will come up that may derail it, whether it be your relationship, the marriage, and or the friendship that you may have had before, and then going forward.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to get to the main content of this episode. And we're going to start off with this clip here. And it's, unfortunately, we see clips like this too often on the internet. But we'll just play it real quick for you guys.
I told you I was sorry. I told you I was sorry. Mistakes happened. But
this man discovers children are not his after 6 years. Confrontation erupts on Thanksgiving. A man discovered that the 3 children he had raised for 6 years were not biologically his. The man learned the truth only weeks ago and has been struggling emotionally ever since. He reportedly asked the woman who betrayed him, along with the children, to leave his home while he tried to process everything. However, on Thanksgiving Day, the man's family decided to invite the woman and the children to the holiday gathering without asking him. They believe the kids didn't deserve to be punished and hoped the man would eventually accept them, even if they were not his biological children. When the woman arrived at the house with the children, the man became visibly upset. Witnesses say he rushed to the front door and blocked them from entering. He told his family he felt completely disrespected and said he was not ready to see them, especially after learning the truth so recently.
And that's pretty much the nuts and bolts of it. Another individual caught raising kids that aren't his, was lied to by his wife or significant other, raising kids for 6 years, wanted some time, just asking for time and space for himself to kind of process what's going on. And his family invites him to Thanksgiving, right? Which that's the part that kind of hit me, because I know when even currently going through my stuff, when you have families intertwined, and it is a tough thing, whether it's divorce or a situation like this, when like I commonly ask the question, like, what happened to family loyalty, right? And there's just not much of it nowadays. I don't see, and I've seen not only my situation and other people's situation, where like the family just really don't care what their blood is going through, and to be in the right. It's not like they're on the wrong side of the things; they're on the right side of the story, but their family just still wants to be buddy with people that are transgressing, oppressing, or have wronged their blood without any type of consequences, without any type of harsh word, nothing. And I can feel his pain. I just know in me personally, if I could advise him in that situation, I would say, no, you just leave. Don't say a word and just leave. And then maybe your family will get the point.
Yeah, I mean, in looking at the family dynamic from the husband's side and his family, I think you summed it up pretty good. But I want to look at the side where the paternity or the paternity fraud, where you have a father who is not the father of those children. And so women, they it happens a lot. It happens a lot more than what is publicized. You have some people who they realize that a child that they thought was theirs is not. And due to embarrassment sometimes, or because they've become attached to the child, some people just keep quiet about it. And they just don't say anything, and they just go on raising that child, and the relationship is, has its issues, and sometimes the relationship just continues, but to get involved in paternity fraud, i.e., telling one man that they are the father of a child when the woman knowingly knows that those children are not his. It is one of the most evil things that a human being can do to another person. And it's one of the most evil things just in general a person can do to the society. So for some of these women who think that, what's the big deal? It's okay. Okay, if they say, well, I made a mistake, but I know this is not the father, but it's better for the child, who's harmed in the situation, it's okay or whatever. This is just an example. And sometimes it comes out a year later, 10 years later, 40 years later. But the harm that's involved, think of all the people that are harmed. You have the father who's not the biological father, but he thinks he is. Look at the harm and the anguish that he goes through, and all the efforts that he put in, only to realize he's not even the father of these children. That's one level. The next level is the woman that he's with is not loyal to him. It's not loyal to him, and she can't be trusted. Imagine you dedicating and building your life and committing to a person, and come to find out that they don't have that commitment to you. That is a harm that man has to go through, right? Then on top of that, the actual father of that child, the actual biological father. Now, it could be perhaps that he doesn't want anything to do with that. Sometimes that is the case. He's just, coming and going. But what if he actually is someone who wants a relationship with his biological children, but either he doesn't know, uh, or the woman is keeping that information from him. Then you have that other issue. I understand that that side is a little bit more complicated, but still, that's another person that could be harmed, in this situation. Then on top of that, you have grandparents who think that they have grandchildren who that's not the case. They're becoming
Yeah.
attached to them. You have uncles and cousins, nephews, they people who think they have nephews and nieces or whatever. Then all of a sudden, those people are harmed by that. Then the children themselves, the children themselves, look
Yeah.
at what they have to go through to where they realize that, hey, eventually they will come to find out this person that we thought was our father is not, right? And so then they're harmed by that, all because one person who knew the truth was too
Mhm.
selfish or evil to either be disciplined or tell the truth. So you have a whole ecosystem, an entire society, the fabric of a community. Who knows how many? Think of how many uh, uncles, nieces, nephews, cousins that you have. I look at my children, look at all the, just the how wide the family goes. Sometimes you got, every single one of those people are going to be affected, all because of someone wants to lie about the paternity. It is the most evil thing. And this is why in Islam, even casual uh, sex is not allowed. For this is one of the main reasons, because of how damaging, either an ambiguous or unknown or questionable paternity can be for not just the individual, but everybody who's connected to that individual. So you just have to be careful. And I would just, this is my PSA for women. Do not lie about this thing. It will cause you more trouble down the road, and you will never recover as a person who could be trusted, and your children will resent you, and your family members will eventually resent you. But in just getting back to the clip, how that family, perhaps they had some attachment to those children. Maybe after 6 years, I mean, maybe they really loved and
Yeah.
cared about those children. And think about this: when the man says, okay, he finds out that those children are his, and he's like, okay, I'm with my family on Thanksgiving. The children don't know of any other family. They don't know who their family is. I mean, they're
Yeah.
they're just looking at their mother. The mother is not part of that family. She married in or whatever. So where do the children go? So on that end, I understand those children, and I would say to make a compromise between the two, let the children stay and get the mother up out of there. The mother
Yeah.
can't go. But if the
Yeah.
if the mother's gonna stay, then definitely, as you said, I would just go ahead and leave.
Yeah.
But the last thing that I'll say about this, and just in looking at it, it could be because the whole family pretty much was like, oh, hey, yeah, come and buy. It could be a situation where that guy was not the biological father of those children, but maybe somebody in the family was.
Uncle Tony. Uncle Daddy Tony. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate, and just to think of, when we hear the situation in 6 years, 3 different kids. I mean, the odds of them all having the same baby father. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's better or worse if they have the same baby daddy
Mhm.
from the other guy's perspective. Like, I don't know which one's worse. Like, wait, they all have the same father, but you've been with me for 6 years, but you the same guy you've been with also for 6 years, or either way, it's a lose-lose situation. And I feel bad for the man because he wanted some space during his holidays with his family, and family's like, nah, come on over. But it's very unfortunate. But again, guys, research, investigate, know what you're getting into. Um, if you Muslims, of course, follow the Muslim protocol before you get married, and it'll actually save you a lot from this, hopefully. But even if you're not Muslim, try to follow the Muslim protocol, and again, it'll protect yourself from a lot of these types of issues. But getting into it, and like, and because I want to see if I don't want to see, but I'm wondering if in the future we're going to see where there's actually case law where people can get sued for this, right? Can you bring someone who you've been with for 6 years that's been deceiving you about the children that they are actually yours? Can you go and sue them in court? And it kind of relates to this next clip where pretty much in some states, in a few states, you can sue people for breaking up a marriage for infidelity. It's very rare because in most states they've gotten rid of the at fault concept in divorce. So it doesn't matter what you do in a marriage, you just get divorced and there's no consequences. But some states, they have a law where you can actually, if someone like is cheating, they commit adultery, you could sue them for breaking up your marriage. And we have an example here.
Lost her husband, sued the TikTok star who took him, and won nearly $2 million. People celebrated inside a North Carolina courtroom after a jury found a social media influencer liable for destroying a couple's marriage.
It was nothing but lies.
That's Brene Kennard. She has nearly 3 million followers on TikTok and is now married to Tim Montague. She acknowledged the relationship in court, claiming that Tim's ex-wife, Akira Montague, knew about their relationship and permitted it. But Montague sued, accusing Kennard of, quote, alienation of affection and criminal conversation. In other words, seducing her husband and breaking up their marriage. The alienation of affection claim is only valid in a handful of U.S. states, including North Carolina. This is Montague celebrating with her legal team after hearing the verdict. She told the court the affair caused her mental anguish, damaged her health, and deprived her children of a two-parent household. The jury sided with her after reviewing 700 pieces of evidence, according to affiliate WRAL.
She has received justice from losing her husband and the father of her children.
Kennard is now on the hook for $1.75 million in damages.
So $1.75 million in damages for breaking up a family. Whether the lady actually gets the money or not, remains to be seen. But I mean, there is some options in some states, like in North Carolina, where if your spouse was cheating and it broke up your marriage, you could sue. And again, as far as like the cost of going to court to sue for this and the success rate and whether it's that, what are you actually going to get from a person? If most of us are not millionaire social media influencers,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's happened in other cases. It happened with a case where an individual sued Steve Smith.
Mm-hmm.
His wife was like a cheerleader or something, and they had a relationship, and he sued Steve Smith and got millions of dollars. So it's there. I would love to see more laws like this on the books where it protects families and it protects marriages.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know if I would like to see it like this, because what you have to look at is this. This is where it is scary to me, and people should be worried. Is that it's almost the reverse of how we had the comment where it said, what if the women have a strong bond together, and these are people who it appears that they obviously knew each other, but the man in this case is treated like a marital asset. He's treated like an asset in a business, right? We do construction, and hey, this third party who's not part of this business destroyed one of my dump trucks. I want compensation.
Yeah.
What's the difference? They entered into a marriage which is just a business. And this is what I want the men to understand. When you legally marry, and I know all the laws in every state is not like this, and it's not like this in every country, but in a lot of countries, when you legally marry, your assets become immediately commingled. And if you make, for instance, if you make $100,000 a year, you get married, now you make 50. You make 50 and she makes 50, whether she works or not. Yeah. Because the marital assets are commingled after that. Especially if you don't have a prenup or whatever, then everything you have is pretty much split in half. Whatever assets you make, whatever assets you have, whatever you build during the relationship, it's 50-50, including yourself. You are a marital asset in this case, because when she lost her husband, the ruling is that she lost a marital asset and she gets compensation for the damages that a third party caused to the business, which was the marriage. Okay, so you just have to be careful. I mean, is the man just a just just a piece of heavy machinery or something that he doesn't have a thought in this. Maybe he did not want to be in a relationship anymore and decided to leave it. That's where I look at it. I understand that people should be, there should be some penalty for people, you know uh kid that are shown to be breaking up or destroying a marriage in some way. But the man should be asked, do you want to stay with this woman? If he says no, case closed. There's nothing to see here.
Well, that's the whole point, is that he did. That's the whole case, alienation of affection. So, right, basically the case she's saying, or when you go to court for this, the one party is saying, if this person didn't come into our lives, our marriage would be fine, right? And that's what the whole court case is probably about, like proving, like, were you guys having problems before, like that. She probably came in and said no. The husband said that he was breaking up with her anyway and tried to show proof of that. Then the wife or ex-wife probably came in and showed text messages like, no, we were happily married, we were going on vacation. That was probably the whole case. Yeah. So I get, and here's the thing, which I think that men don't have to worry about it so much, or men or women, because a man could sue for someone doing that with his wife too, because it sues the third party. So, the man's right. It might even be like, if we want to talk about I have a playbook called the Section 8 playbook, because what you could do is, if you could catfish somebody who's rich, right? And you're like, listen, we're gonna break up, but listen, just sue the lady afterwards.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if someone already has that plan in place and is trying to do it. You never know.
But just another example, and we'll bring up another example of, you gotta learn the laws of your state. Mm-hmm. Like, as men, we have to know what the laws are regarding marriage, custody, divorce, child support. When we're talking about relationships, and these are key things that's going to happen in a man's life, right? That you have to know the laws around. Like in Islam, we have a term. It's called basically the fard ayn, right, of knowledge. Like certain things that as men, doesn't matter what level you are, you have to know how to pray. You have to know how to make wudu. You have to know the basics of tahara, or cleanliness. You have to know these things for yourself to function in this world. As Americans living in the West, Muslim, non-Muslim, you have to know the things that pertain to the major aspects of your life. You have to know some basic finance issues. You have to know bank. Like, you have to know these things to survive. And knowing the laws regarding marriage, if you plan on getting married, divorce, custody and child support and all that, if you plan on having kids with somebody, you have to know these things. And here's an example, and I was kind of feeling bad for the guy watching this clip. It's just a prime example of, like, you have to know these things before you get into these situations.
Current child support of $1,475 monthly beginning November 1st, 2025.
Does that include the health care?
No, from the cash medical obligation.
No, I don't agree.
Why not?
Because I just feel like that's extreme for their age group. And again, I also pay every other week daycare, which costs $600. So if I'm paying that plus the $342, that puts me at 17 something, and then add the $6, that put me at $2,300 a month.
So you mentioned daycare and what you pay for that. Do you pay for any of the children's other recurring expenses?
Yes, I help her out.
What other recurring expenses do you pay for the children?
We agreed upon $850 a month, so that helps her cover recurring expenses for them.
Okay.
So outside of the $600, I also give $425 every other week. This started 6 weeks ago.
So this goes on and on. And for anybody that's been in these situations, like with court and custody, whatever, this guy, he is failing on every level. And I want to hear Mubarak's take first before I gotta give my take, because I was like, oh, I was just like cringing every time he started talking. Like, stop talking, stop talking.
Yeah, I think I know where you're gonna go with it, more on the technical side. He made a lot of mistakes, but this is
Yes.
something that, yeah, he should have known before. As soon as they broke up, he should have got help. He made a lot of
Yes.
mistakes, But I will say this: my take is that it's so sad, man. It was heartbreaking to see this guy. He's young, and it looks like he makes a decent amount of money. But even if you look at all the different expenses that he was talking about that he was paying, and from the looks of it, he's probably going to wind up having to pay more. He's going to get more taken from him. He's paying at least about $35,000 a year, just from some of the things, just from the numbers of what he was doing monthly or whatever here and there. But he's at between $35,000 a year for what looks like a child who is in daycare level, where they're, could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I mean, he's on the hook for this for the next 15 years or so, depending on where he lives. I think in New York it's like 21. And so he's for the next 15 years at least or more, he's on the hook to pay this woman basically, $30,000 to $35,000 a year. It's probably going to go up, and so if you look at that, my advice before Dr. Griffin gets on the technical side is that you have to be extremely, extremely intentional about who you interact with physically, intimately, sexually. You got to be very, very intentional. By intentional, I mean you have to look at that person. And if that person is not the type of person that if you had a daughter, you would say, if I had a daughter, I would want her to be just like this, then don't do it. Literally, you cannot, put it this way. You have to make sure that you avoid impregnating anyone at all costs, whether it's the proper comment. And look, I say this for a person who's married or not. But even if a person is married, if you're with a person and you can look at them and say, this is not the type of person that I would want my daughter to be like, then you are running the risk of not only having children who will be contrary to what you would like to raise, but also that someone else will be doing that, raising it on your dime. So you have to be very intentional. You have to be, you have to, if you are with a woman, and some people say, oh, this is extreme, what I'm about to say. Listen, if you are with a woman, you have to know her cycle. You have to know it. You have to know how many days her period is, and how long it lasts, when she comes on, what are the signs or whatever, because it's just mathematics. If you are disciplined enough to stay out of there for a certain amount of time, you're not going to get pregnant. But you have to know these things. It's like, well, oh man, that's a lot. That's a lot to know. I bet you if you had to pay $40,000 a year, it would be something simple and easy for you. You would be very diligent in figuring out that information. But the discipline is just not there. I mean, I wanted to maybe next week we can cover the coach. You're one of your alma maters, the coach of Michigan, how he completely lost himself in that situation. But that's something that's not for now. But
that dude took us.
Yeah, but I'll just say this. It's like, but you have to this information to know their cycle when they come on and off, and to be disciplined as far as not producing a child when you don't want to. Then it's a $40,000 a year mistake. And for this man, he's young. He seems like he's He seems like he's smart. He seems like he has a good, profession or something like that, to where
Yeah.
he's throwing this money around. But the thing is that had he just had some discipline and been very intentional about who he chose, then I mean, there's no guarantees in life, but you can really insulate yourself and say, this is the type of person. They got the type of personality, the type of culture, of mindset, that even if I'm not around, if my daughter takes after this type of person, then she'll be okay.
Yeah.
And vice versa for the woman. You have to look at the man who you're entertaining. If you can look at him and say, man, if I had a son, I wouldn't want him to be anything like this guy, then you have no business being with him, and you definitely shouldn't be having any children. You have to protect yourself. And it may be a matter of, you look at it and say, listen, if I can't get conventionally the type of person that I would look at and say, I want my son to be just like this person, then you may have to modify your expectations and alter some of the targets that you're going after to make sure that you do that. But be very, very careful and be intentional about who you're going to be with. Otherwise, you wind up like this guy with a $40,000 a year mistake.
Yeah. And like what Mark said, you look at him, he seems like he's smart. He's obviously got a good career going on for the amount of money he's paying. I don't know if that's a truck or some kind of heavy machinery that he's sitting in actually going to court, but he's got something going on, right? And I mean, just real quick, just sidebar. Look at him, but then look at the person he decided to have kids with. like, I'm just gonna leave it there. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll just leave it there. Okay. But just to break this down, and this is why I was like, you have to understand how this stuff works. And I mean, I wish I can go back and understand how this stuff works before I got in it. But most of the times we figure out after the fact or while we're in the mix and we miss things. This is why paying attention to what we're talking about is not just for married men with kids. This is for guys that you guys are young and you're just getting into the college or career market. Or this is when you need to know this stuff, so you don't have to go through what we've learned by trial and error, right? So when you go into child support, in most states, all it is just a calculation. It's just an equation. They have certain percentages based on the number of kids, and they put in numbers, and then they pop out, this is how much you're going to pay. Okay, and that's what it looks like they did here. And they asked, like, do you agree with this? If he knew, right, he's actually giving them way too much information, and he's probably going to end up paying way more money than this. Because here's the thing, right? They put that number of whatever he reported was his income, put it in the equation, and said, this is what you have to give her every month for child support. Guess what? It's less than what he's actually giving her right now. He should have said, yep, sure, I agree, right? And then stop giving everything else that he's been giving to her as far as like daycare, the $800 a month. Because you look at it, it's $1,475 a month that he's been given, that he's been ordered to pay. And he said, I pay $600 every 2 weeks. That's $1,200. I pay health insurance every 2 weeks, $342. That's $700, right? So now we're at $1,900, almost $2,000, and he gives her $850 a month. That's almost $3,000 a month he was giving her before she went to court. And this happens a lot, guys. That when she took him to court for child support, the only thing she was thinking about was that $850 a month that he was giving her. And she was like, I want more. Then she seen that calculation, like, oh, $1,475, I'm going to get that. And he's going to still pay for health insurance and daycare and all the other stuff. No. He should have went in there and said, yes, I agree. After he got out of court, then guess what? Oh, you need daycare paid for? Yeah, take it out of that $1,475. Oh, health insurance? Oh, you better figure something out, right? So this is why it's very important to understand these laws and how they work, so that you don't go into this situation and get yourself stuck and you're putting your foot in your mouth. Because now she's that lawyer there that's representing, I don't know what state this is, how they do it, but pretty much this lawyer's, oh, okay, daycare, we got to add that to the equation. Oh, health insurance, okay, we got to add that to the equation. Okay. And pretty much now they're going to add, and they're going to actually increase this number. This $1,475 that he said that he didn't agree to pay, they're going to increase it and add that number in for him to pay it. So again, knowledge is power, y'all. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, it's just so sad. It's heartbreaking because and I've seen the way that he's talking and the kind of the look on his face, like he feels like, man, I got a good position here, and I'm upstanding, I'm being honest. Listen, man, I'm never encouraging anybody to be dishonest, but in this type of system, you can't think well and say everything that you're doing, and he's saying how, oh, I'm doing this, I'm giving this money here and there, as if it's going to be a benefit to you. It will not. It's just like, it's similar to talking to the cops. There's never any benefit in it. And when you're in court, there's never any benefit in really saying anything unless it's very, very, very calculated. In this situation where, like you said, they're looking at, all the things that he can do, it's definitely going to go up. Even if it's not in this session, it will be increased later on. And so, in a lot of the things that he was doing, he's paying for this. He's doing a lot of things that normally a good man, a good father, a good dad would do for their children. But the thing is, I guarantee you, he didn't decide to take himself to court for child support. It was her. So the thing is, you have to ask yourself, what will this woman, once you know, okay, if she's pregnant or you have a child, you have to really ask yourself, will this woman take me to court for child support if we break up, or when we break up, or you're already broke up and you're thinking, okay, even if you're broke up, right, you're not together anymore, and then you start doing this, okay, I'm doing a daycare, I'm throwing all this money around, you got to think to yourself, would this woman put me on child support? If the answer is maybe, probably, definitely, even if you think, nah, she won't, have your plan in place. What will happen if I'm taken to court for child support, and then you have to be operating just like that, as far as what you got to be, even at this point, I don't even think it would even matter if he's documenting or whatever, because at this point it's already, whatever money you're given, even if it's documented, they're gonna find a way to tack that on. It's situation like this really, really, really hurt.
Yeah, the only thing the documentation is going to help is the arrears that they're going to assess him. That's it. So guys, yes, do document everything that you do spend on your kids, because when you do get into court, just a little FYI, a little legal stuff. So say for instance, she took him to court for child support on January 1st, 2024, right? That's when she filed the paperwork for child support. And this court session is, say, June or July 1st, 2024. So 6 months before they actually get to court and finalize what the child support is going to be. What they're going to do is backdate, okay, well, she filed in January. You owe this $1,475 for January, February, March, April, whatever. That's when the documentation comes into place, where you say, no, I have documentation. I actually did give her money over that amount, so I should not have any arrears. Okay. And again, they could just say, we don't care, but it gives you a chance, right? I'll just a little personal story. For instance, when I was in my child support case, I didn't know about this backdating thing. And of course I was being a good father and taking care of my kids and giving the baby mama money. Right. But when they backdated it, they said, they were assessing me. It was like $4,000 that I had to pay in arrears, but I paid way more than that, giving her money throughout that time. However, it would cost me about $3,000 something to get the lawyer to go back to court to actually get my $4,000 and maybe not get it. So it's like, well, what's the point? Why am I going to pay this money and potentially not get it. It was just like, all right, you write it off. So these are like the types of things you have to deal with in these legal situations. And again, like what Mark said, just so you don't have to deal with it, all the preparation, all the thought process, the contemplating, the investigating, being very careful, like not with kids, with having children, it's not like planting grass, right? When you plant grass, you pretty much just take seed and you just throw it all over the place, right?
Yeah.
Just grow. No,
Just sling
it's like planting a tree. You want to go, okay, I want the tree to grow here. It's going to grow and be 20, 30 foot plus feet tall. I got to look at the surroundings. I got to look at the dirt. Where am I putting it in? How's it going to grow? You have to be very, very, very calculated when you're planting that seed, and that's for your children. Okay. Don't be planting grass.
Oh, have mercy.
All right, our last clip we have here. This was a deep one, and I'll just play the clip first.
Job of a woman that divorces her husband.
Statistically, the highest would be homemakers. I think the tasks that used to be incumbent on a homemaker are very easily done now. When you were a stay-at-home mom in 1920, you were washing the cloth diapers. You'd go to the grocer or the butcher, and you would buy the things to make a meal, and then you would make that meal for your family. It required quite a bit of effort, and so there was an equality. The man was out there working, women were at home, but they were both really working. Now, that job's really easy. We've got people gassed up on this idea that like, oh my God, the hardest job in the world is being a mom. And it's like, guys, it's not. When your job gives you hours during the day to do nothing but sort of ruminate and compare yourself to other people that you're looking at online and watch TV and listen to messages about why you're great and why everything else is everybody else's fault. Does it turn you into the kind of person who's like, yeah, you know what? There's a better life out there and I deserve it. Yeah, it turns you into that person.
What's the most common job?
Yeah, this was eye-opening to me, because it kind of changes like how I look at relationship, marriage dynamics, and all that. I mean, and of course, we're always going to stand by the best type of setup you can have in a marriage is a traditional one where the man's the breadwinner, he's out there making the income, taking care of the family, and the wife is like a stay-at-home mom and taking care of the household and the children. However, it adds another dimension because it is a fact that it's not as hard to take care of a home as it used to be, even 20, 30 years ago, right? Things are different, technology, expectations, and all these different things. But as a man, as being the leader of the household, the one that has to manage and take care of everybody in the household so that it functions properly, you are the manager, you are the king or president, whatever scenario you want to put it in, that's you as the man, that's you as the father and the husband. You have to really think about, okay, if you're in a situation where your wife is the homemaker, taking care of the kids, you have to look at that situation. You also have to put controls in place to protect her from what he's actually talking about. Okay. Right. There's plenty sayings out there like what is it, like idle times, the devil's playground, or like, so with knowing that maybe it takes 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on your home life, for like a homemaker to actually get everything done in the house and ready. What is happening with that other time? And there's a lot of things that we could look at in depth to see that what men should look at or what women should look at of filling that time with something that's going to keep them positive, right? Occupied, benefiting themselves, benefiting the family, and them finding value in it so they don't fall into this Western trap of like, I need to go work to feel that I'm somebody. And then once they do it, they hate themselves, they hate their jobs, and the family's all in a disarray, right? So we really have to add this aspect in our thought process as being husbands and fathers, and women that are listening. You have to fill that time with something that's going to not only benefit you, but also benefit your family. It's a whole nother dimension that we need to start really thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at this, and if we go to the end of the road and then work back, where alimony and division of marital assets and these things these kind of laws were put in place because you had the homemaker or the stay-at-home wife who wasn't out there earning, money and building a career or whatever, and her career was her home and that type of thing. That's the thought behind it, right? So if you look at that, and where this is a famous lawyer who does a lot of high profile divorce cases and whatever, but so his information is probably accurate as far as who gets the divorces the most, which is the homemaker. So if you think about it, that is the possible end of the road scenario where you've worked for a certain amount of time, building or working, to provide for the family and do the maintenance and all that stuff. And half of everything is taken because of, someone who, sat at home and, watched, all the soap operas and all that, stuff that, Desperate Housewives and all these shows that stereotypically they say, housewives, they spend their time watching, all this daytime dramas until their husband comes home, and then they, whip something together, straighten up the house and whatever. And then, so the point is, this type of scenario is disastrous. And I see where when you look at the laws, what you should do, kind of like what you said, Dr. Griffin, is put some things in place to prevent that. I would say number one is that if you get married, regardless of whatever your wife's educational level is, I used to be vehemently against, I don't want to say vehemently, but I was against women working. I didn't think it's just not necessary. But I think that if a woman is married and she does not have children, you work until you have children. You unless you're a student still or something. But if your husband's not working, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, you need to be doing something matching that same energy. I mean, at the very least, there should never be a woman who is married and she has no children. I mean, she should be in the best shape of her life. I mean, she should be because what else do you have to do? If you're not going to be working, you have to be doing something, filling that time with something productive. I say make them work for two reasons. If you do wind up in a situation where you wind up having to split, then her working and being able to earn money and having money is going to help you. Also, it's going to help the family. It should generally help the family that she goes to work, and then whatever goals you're working towards as a young couple, you can get there that much faster by her working and contributing to the pie. And I don't say that she goes to work and puts the money in her pocket. She goes to work and puts it towards the family goals. Now, she's not going to work, then she goes to school. If you don't have children, educate yourself. She should be going to school. If she's already educated, then put that education to use. If not, be working on something to where you're not just sitting around waiting for your husband to come home and just watching TV and scrolling all day. And then you wind up wasting, who knows how many years of your life until you have children. Okay. Now, if she has children, okay, that's different. Then you should never be paying for daycare. I know people who, I know people who they work and then they send their children to daycare. So their wife can just, I'm like, yo, what does she?
Wait, so the wife's still home? Wife doesn't work either?
Home. The children in daycare.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
Hey, listen, some people just, I don't know. But I'm saying, listen, you definitely shouldn't be spending for daycare. And I would say that if your wife is not working, then she should be the teacher for the children. You should be homeschooling those children. And that should be her job. If she's not going to work, if she's just going to say, okay, I've got all these children, I can't work. Okay, then you should be homeschooling children. They say, okay, well, keeping the house up and cooking and cleaning and taking care of your husband and teaching the kids, that's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Your husband's working hard. You work hard. To me, I see this as, what you can do to where that woman realizes, yes, I do have a job. It is fulfilling. I am building and growing something. I'm a part of a project that's actually making progress, where she's putting her energy into her children and teaching them, and they're growing like that. If she's not doing something that is fulfilling like that, and she's just, like you said, watching this person and that person and just doom scrolling,
yeah, it's going to lead to a person who has delusions of grandeur, who is unrealistic in, what she thinks, life is about, to where, when you're watching other people's very manicured and, cultured lives here, on the internet, then you think, oh, everything is perfect. Like I'm sitting here talking or whatever, man, listen, behind a brick wall here. That's the internet. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. If she's going to be a homemaker, I don't think it should be like that. She needs to be filling that day with work. If you're working 12 hours a day, you need to have 12 hours worth of work for her to also be doing.
Yep.
Otherwise, yeah, I could see you very easily falling into that trap, that situation where you have a person who's not happy with the situation and delusionally thinks they're going to do better.
Yeah.
On average, the overwhelming majority of the time, a woman who forces herself out of a marriage or gets divorced, you don't wind up doing better. You either wind up being alone, or you wind up having to settle for someone who's not even as good as who you had. So you have to be careful on that front as well.
Yeah. So that's what we got for today, you guys. Thank you for joining us. And again, if you have any questions, add them in the comments. Email us at amansworld@gmail.com, and we'll respond to you there. Again, all the stuff, this is for the men that are watching, whatever age group you are. If you're a young man, middle-aged man, older man, you could benefit from this. Share this with your sons, share this with your grandsons, your nephews, women as well. You can benefit from this as well. You can get a man's perspective on these things and share this information with your sons, with your husbands, with your brothers. And again, if we're getting something wrong, let us know. We'd like to hear about it, because we're still trying to figure this out. We're still living life, and we could always benefit from other people's perspectives as well. So thank you for joining us. We'll be here again, inshallah, next Sunday at 8:30 in the morning, covering more Man's World topics. And pretty soon we got a doozy for you guys. We'll put this out here. We're going to be, and maybe we can clip this and put this out as like an advertisement to try to get some people. We're going to be covering the single woman marriage / the dilemma in the UK. We did a show that got a lot of views about Muhammad Hijabs and his secret hotel marriage. But he's not the only one doing these things. As we have seen through the other clips and stuff that's come out, like it's an epidemic that's going on, especially in the UK. It happens here in the US, but it's really an issue in the UK. And we would love for people that have the UK specific perspective to come and talk to us about it on our show. Men, women, that we could talk about the cultural aspects of it. We can talk about the westernized aspects of it. We can talk about all these different things of why it's happening, and hopefully how we can combat it and fix the problem that's going on. Because there's a lot of single women in the UK. There's a lot of men that are taking advantage of that. And there's a lot of men that aren't taking advantage of that, which actually adds to the problem because of cultural stigma and all these different things that's happening. So with that, I guess we'll end, and also put a thing out there for the single UK ladies that are like, oh, I can't get married again because I'm a divorcee and no one likes me and society hates me. There's plenty of men in America that don't care about that. So,
I mean, if you have insight, information, or any anecdotes about people who are or have been involved in these secret marriages, then email us or contact us and let us know. And that way we can be able to better present the information. But any information is definitely welcome.
Yes. So with that, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi. Let me know when we're off. I'm just gonna
we are